There's not the type of graduates that are coming out of university today that we want to employ. They're smart, but they're too limited. To make a long story short, we had over 12,000 employees at that point worldwide. We put everyone on profit sharing. The entire company was on profit sharing. You have to take some risk. You have to do what other people don't have the courage to do. I had read an article, and it was an article that someone had surveyed people in their 90s. And they asked them, they said, what do you regret in life the most? They said, I wish I would have taken more risk. Microsoft just announced they're investing $4 billion in our area.
Every culture, every conversation teaches you something that takes you forward.
People ask me all the time, why do you think you've been successful in your career? Well, it's because I've been in those many countries, seeing those many different cultures.
Now we are seeing a very different America. There are a lot of things now being done. Till about a couple of years back, US was the default choice, and that was a big American dream. But now things are changing.
There's good and bad in everything. Our current president, being a businessman, he's obviously applying his business skills to politics. Well, you can do that to a certain extent, but not entirely.
Hi, welcome back. This is Ankur Vora, Intersect by Masters Union podcast series. We have today with us a very distinguished guest, Mr. Tim Sullivan from Carroll University in America. Hi, Tim. So happy to have you here with us today.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I think this is the first day of the trip in India, and you chose Masters Union to be the first stop. We are very honored. I read about you, and the experience and the life that you have had till now is an inspiration for all of us. Especially for me, when I read, I think I spent at least a couple of days reading about you, watching your videos, and I said it will make for a great conversation just to have you here with us. So thank you once again. Uh, Tim, let's start with your, the theme of this podcast series that we have been doing for the last year now. We have had 29 episodes that have been recorded, and we have had guests from all over the world who have come here, distinguished, university leaders, high school leaders, top career counselors, entrepreneurs. I think you are unique even in this subset, that you come from at least 5 decades of experience of building businesses, leading businesses, and then now leading a business school at one of the leading universities in US, Carroll University in Wisconsin. Uh, and we are at Masters Union all about learn by doing. And when I read your profile, it was all about learn by doing. I mean, getting your hands dirty in the real world, in the business world, spending decades creating shareholder value, organization building organizations. Uh, and I can only imagine the journey that he has been for you. I read that you graduated in 1975 from Carroll University, and then 1976 you went to Arizona State University, Thunderbird School of Management. I think we like to, before we delve into your corporate life and professional life, we just want to know more about you as a person. Your early years, the city that you grew up in, the education that you had, any strong family values that made you who you are today. So over to you, Tim.
Well, I grew up in the Midwest. I was actually born in Iowa, grew up in Illinois, and finished my education in Wisconsin. My father was a traveling salesman in the food business. So he sold to both wholesalers and retailers in the food business, starting his career with General Foods, and he did that. It was a family of 7. So when we finally settled down in Wisconsin, I finished high school in Wisconsin. I started working, and I started working in construction. And when you do things in your early life, they kind of form you for the rest of your
Yeah.
life. And so I was able to start driving dump trucks and operating equipment when I was 16, 17 years old.
Wow,
Yeah.
16, 17.
I had the opportunity. I took it. It was good pay, and I really enjoyed it. And so the last years of high school, and actually as I worked when I was going to school at Carroll University. I had to work to pay the tuition. I got some scholarship, but I had to really work to pay for the tuition. My father couldn't afford to pay for it. And so I was working construction, primarily building bridges.
Okay.
And I was fascinated by construction. I was fascinated by large construction projects like bridges. And it actually formed as I eventually went through my education, where I ended up in my career.
So amazing. So father was a traveling salesman. You were 7 siblings, and you said you worked your way through college at Carroll University in Wisconsin. And so why Carroll University? And
It was, I'll be very honest with
yeah,
you. It was convenient. I started my construction work when I was in high school,
okay,
and I could keep the job, and the pay was so good.
okay,
The pay was so good. I said, well, I can go away to a different university, or I could go to Carroll University. They were one of the few that offered me money on a scholarship,
okay,
and then the opportunity to maintain my job, and quite frankly, the reputation. I said, if I can go to Carroll University and actually afford to go there
yeah,
because I can work, what better solution would there be?
yeah. I mean, at that point of time, this was, I think you graduated in 75
75,
from
right?
Carroll. So
Yeah.
you were there for about 3 years or 4 years, 4 years. So 71 you joined Carroll, and then graduated in 75, and you studied business. Any reasons for studying
Well,
business?
I'll be honest.
Again, yeah, please be.
I had an uncle who was a lawyer, and I said, he made a lot of money.
Okay.
And I said, well, I should be a lawyer.
Hmm.
So I did my first year and a half as pre-law.
Okay.
And no offense to any lawyers in the world, I found it very boring.
Yeah.
And I got into business classes, and I said, this is exciting. This is exciting. This is dynamic. These are things that you can do that you can make a difference, and you can do things very differently than other people. And the world is wide open for business. And so I switched to business, and I never looked back.
Yeah, amazing. And then you went on to do your post graduation also in business. You went to Arizona.
I did. It was the only international business school in the world at the time. It was the only place you could get an MBA concentrated in international.
Okay.
And so it was very hard to get into back then. Half of the students came from outside the United States. And so it was very difficult to get into. I was very lucky, quite frankly, to get into the school. So I went to school with a lot of international students. And I was telling the group last night at dinner, Martel Cognac, Paul Martel was one of my classmates.
Okay.
And people came from Japan, from India, some from India,
Okay.
a lot from Europe.
And this is 1976.
1976. And so it was very, very new. Now, if you look, when I looked at, what university to go to for my master's, it was a gentleman, it was one of my professors, an economic professor from Latvia,
Okay.
a very brilliant man. And he said, young man, you need to get a degree, a master's degree in international business, because the world's going to get very, very small in your lifetime. He said, you can do the standard MBA. You can go to the standard business schools in the United States, but this one's very special.
Okay.
And it was.
Okay. Wow. So one professor changed your
Changed my trajectory completely.
wow. And you met him at Carroll,
At Carroll. He was an economics professor at Carroll.
and you continued working because you worked while you were and then you work your way through.
I worked my way through my master's program.
Wow. Wow. So I mean, this is all what we speak about at masters.
So my goal was, if I could pay for school and come out debt free, that was my goal.
Okay.
I actually came out of my master's program with some money left in my pocket. I was very proud.
God bless you. Wow. 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 Kudos to you. And I think nothing better than that. You don't have any student debt. You have, worked your way through college, gives you real world experience.
That was it. I was, and that's, we're going to talk about this. That is what changed me too. I think the fact that I was working all the way through, I was getting real world experience the entire time, which was not only paying the bills for the tuition, it was giving me the experience.
Yeah.
So I had a running start when I came out of my master's program. I had a running start. Yeah.
That is invaluable. Amazing. And then after Thunderbird School of Management, what were your first?
I was very fortunate again. The school was was very well known internationally. I had 4 job offers.
4 job offers.
Which was the average coming out of that school at the time because it was the only international business degree. And so I had 4 job offers, and they were all very, very good, but I chose a company that was in machinery because I had worked construction, and I really enjoyed it. And this was a famous company Bucyrus.
Bucyrus, yeah.
And I decided to choose them, and again, a good choice. But I had a lot of desire, and I really wanted to work with large construction projects, mining, machinery. It just it was the interest that I had.
Bucyrus is I read about them. It's a prestigious company. I read that their machines were used in building the Panama Canal, and all over the world, wherever big projects were happening. Bucyrus was there.
Yeah.
And I think 1880
1880.
is when they were established, and you spent more than 3 decades, 35 years with Bucyrus. So large part of your life
Right.
was spent with them. And I think if somebody spends 35 years of their life and prime years of their life with the company, I'm sure they are enjoying their work. So tell us a little bit more about your experience. At Bucyrus, what were you doing? What were the kind of projects you studied? International markets, international business. So what was your work like?
Well, the reason Bucyrus hired me is because I had the international MBA.
Okay.
And mining was shifting and growing rapidly. And I think they were looking to get more expertise in the area of international business. And so I think that was the other interest.
And which part of the states you were in? When you
I
started.
started in the headquarters
Okay.
in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then they started moving me around to various mining areas. So they started me first in the United States. For 1 year, I went to 4 or 5 different mine sites doing different things. And then they sent me to French West Africa, Gabon.
Okay.
And it was a U.S. steel manganese mine that was developing. And I went over there to actually supervise the introduction of the Bucyrus machines into the manganese mine in the middle of literally the jungles of Africa. And so I was there. I was assigned there for, they thought, 1 year. I was there for 2 years
Okay.
to put those machines in there.
Okay. Wow. And you were doing business development for them, or
At that point in time, no, I was actually doing field installation.
field
They
installation?
wanted, I thought it was a good idea. Their whole approach at that point in time is they wanted us to understand the mechanics and the machinery, intimately.
Mm.
I was not supposed to be there for 2 years,
Okay.
but it was Africa. Things were not very efficient. I was there too. It was a little bit longer than they expected, but that was my training, so to speak, to understand mine sites and understand training or understand machinery.
Yeah. And this was pretty early on in
Early
your
on,
career in
1976 and 1977.
1977. So early on you were into the installation of machines, and then as you progressed,
Then
your
I get into
role
business.
changed.
Then the role changed. I went into business
Great. I think that's a good
because again
good way to start.
they wanted me to get broad experience. So I came back to the United States and I went into the business side of the business. And I was basically into spare parts for the machines. Then I got into new machine sales in both the United States, Texas. Then I went to Australia and I was there for 4 years.
Okay.
Came back to the United States.
Okay.
And I got in charge of international sales and operations. And that's what really broadened me out. Then I had, start to earn my money by being involved in various areas of the world.
And I know you were telling me about the Reliance.
Well,
Ambani.
I've been to 117 countries.
117 countries.
117 countries in my career, all with Bucyrus.
About India and your work.
Well, my first trip to India, believe it or not, was 1985.
1985.
1985.
Wow.
And I was working the Indian market, the Russian market, the Chinese market, some things, and a lot of the African. I went back to the African continent, did a lot there, did a lot in Canada. I was all over the world, basically negotiating contracts and working with people to establish mines. If you look at the commodities and the things that are mined, they're all over the world. And especially the small countries, that's their hard currency. They wanted to develop their resources. That was my job. I was out there kind of, effectively creating contracts and negotiating contracts. So
That must be some.
it was a great experience. You look at all these different, contracts that are negotiated. So back in those days, I was actually negotiating contracts with Coal India.
Coal India. Wow.
So if you look at the installed base of coal manufacturing here in the country, 90% was Bucyrus machines.
Okay.
And today, so power generation in India is still the machinery that I sold and negotiating
My God.
contracts, beginning in 1985, all the way through to about, 1998, 1999. And then, as I left Bucyrus for a short period of time, I wanted to run a company. I was in my 40s. I'm getting to be an old man now.
Okay.
And I felt that I was at a point where I could run a company. So I went to the paper industry for a short period of time, returned to Bucyrus in 2000 to run Bucyrus.
Yeah, we'll come to that. But 117 countries by
Yeah.
the time you were around 40 years,
40, 46, 47.
46, 47.
Intense travel.
Intense travel. 117 countries. I mean, having traveled to just about 40 countries myself,
Yeah.
I know 117 countries, and then you were negotiating contracts. That's a different ballgame altogether, because then you have to understand each country. I mean, the nitty-gritties of how the people operate and the culture, and I mean that's wealth of
Exactly.
experience.
It was fascinating. And it was,
The world
to
is
your point,
open.
it was exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have to go into a country, to your point, you have to understand the culture. You have to understand how they think, what's important, what's not important. Everyone does things differently. Back in those days in China, it would take forever.
Oh, you went to China also?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Went to China, they would take forever to negotiate a contract. And then over a period of time, my last negotiations in China were in the late 1990s, lightning fast. So they had gone from, extended, protracted, negotiations that eventually went to something that they were the quickest negotiators in the world.
Oh, the world has changed. I think your professor were absolutely right. Study international business in 1975 gave you that advice, and you did go on to see the world and work with the world. I can only imagine. I mean, the world would have changed in front of your eyes. I mean,
It
100.
did. Well, even coming here to Delhi
Yeah.
now, it's been a few years since I've been here. You don't realize when you live in a city like you do here, how rapidly it does change.
It does change. Absolutely.
You can't see it necessarily until you go away and then come.
And then come back. Yeah, that's when you actually it strikes you that things have improved or that they have not improved. Or I mean, so wealth of experience. I think we can go on talking about this part of your life, but we have to stick to the podcast time limits. But amazing. I mean, kudos to you. I didn't know this 117 countries and the work that you're doing there. But I quickly want to pivot now to you living Bucyrus and going for paper company business. You said you wanted to build a business of your own in 40s and you came there. So what was that journey like?
It was a tough time in the paper industry, and the company was in a challenging situation. So I started to fix it,
Okay.
and it was something that I hadn't really done before, and that was a challenge. But I tell you, it was really rewarding to take a company and knowing what you've known through your career and apply that to effectively saving the company.
Yeah, wow.
And it was a privately held company. It was actually owned by an Austrian gentleman who had developed paper recycling machinery, and that was the business. And
This was in US.
it was in U.S. The company was based in New York,
New York.
and we had locations outside of New York, but we eventually sold the company to private equity. He was quite elderly. He had survived, the Second World War, came to the United States, started this company. And I helped turn it around, and then we sold it to private equity.
Wow, amazing. And then you came back to Bucyrus, and I mean, then the legend goes that you sold you did a fantastic job as the CEO of Bucyrus. So tell us, how did this transition back to Bucyrus happen? And I know I read, I mean, you are the best man to verify this. I mean, Bucyrus was not in the best of pink of its health. It had filed for bankruptcy, and a lot of times stuff were not going their way. I mean, so tell us a little bit about this transition.
Well, You wonder sometimes how you make your career decisions. The fact that I went to the paper industry gave me the skill set to fix companies.
Okay.
I came back to Bucyrus, and to your point, it was in really, really difficult
Yeah.
situation, very difficult, losing money. Revenues were way down because the commodity pricing was down, and mining is mining. It goes the way of the commodity prices. So when commodity prices are up, business is good. When commodity prices are down, it's not. All the commodity prices were down. But again, I brought that skill set to Bucyrus, made some difficult but good decisions to get the company back on its feet. And I also, learned to be a lot more aggressive. I learned to take a lot more risk when I was a young CEO. And I brought that skill set to Bucyrus. So it was aggressive. We did a lot of things that I probably would not have done if I didn't have the experience in the paper
In the
industry.
paper industry.
And over basically a 11-year period of time, we went from a very struggling company with about $280 million in revenue, losing money, to a $5 billion revenue company making over $1 billion
Wow.
in EBITDA.
I read about it. I'm like, how did this guy make this happen? I mean, this is like out of the dreams. Increasing shareholder value by 1,500% and EBITDA and all those numbers are off the charts. And I'm like, and then you sold it to Caterpillar
Caterpillar in 2011.
2011, and now, so this is stuff of legends.
Yeah. Well, and I got to tell you a story, though, because this
Please do.
relates to India. In 2010, there was a very large project that was being planned here by Reliance Energy, and it was a mine mouth. It was a power plant that required a lot of machinery. I personally came to India to meet with Anil
Wow.
and put the deal together. So if you look at the Sasson project, power plant and mine site project, which is actually it's the largest in India now as far as a power plant mine mouth situation. There's over $1 billion worth of Bucyrus, now Caterpillar machinery in that mine, and we did that deal in 2010.
Wow. Amazing work, Tim. Uh, just reading about it gave me the goosebumps, and you were the person who made that all happen. Um, any other impressions of why you were able to pull that off? Apart from you were ready to take the risk, and your paper industry experience was helping you. Anything else?
Yeah, it's interesting. And there's certain things in life that you just stumble upon, and they have a deep meaning for you. And I was really trying to figure the paper industry out, and even in the early days of Bucyrus, really trying to figure out how to fix it. And I had read an article, and it was an article that someone had surveyed people in their 90s. So these are people that have made it all the way to their 90s. And they asked them, they said, what do you regret in life the most? And it hit me. They said, I wish I would have taken more risk.
Hmm.
That was their number one thing that they said that they regretted in life. And that turned my whole approach, right. And so, when we look at, being an entrepreneur, when we look at, starting something new like you are, uh, fantastic what you're doing. You have to take some risk. You have to do what other people don't have the courage to do.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And I can only imagine, right? A company that was down the doldrums, the employee morale will be low, and people will be thinking to jump the ship and then move on, and then you have to lead it, and then you will have your own demons to deal with and your own pressures. It is,
Tell
it
you one
is.
other thing that we were able to develop, and it's amazing the power. So we were going to expand through acquisition. This is 2007, and there was a German company that was making underground mining machinery for coal. And everyone says, "Oh, you don't want to do business in Germany. The unions are very, very strong. They don't work 40 hours a week. They won't work overtime. They make a lot of money, and they're not getting the production." And before I did the deal, I decided to sit down with the unions. So I sat down with the head of AG Metall in Germany, Dr. Helmut Schmolt. And I said, Dr. Schmolt, I said, no one's going to buy this business. I said, because they think there's a labor issue here. And Dr. Schmolt and myself did a deal over dinner.
Okay.
And he said, we'll work 40 hours a week. We'll work overtime. We'll actually cut our pay, but I want part of your profits. And I had never done that before. And so I said, I'll do that deal. So we created a profit sharing situation for our union members in Germany. To make a long story short, we had over 12,000 employees at that point worldwide. I put everyone on profit sharing.
Okay.
The entire company was on profit sharing, 12,000 people.
Amazing.
It is amazing because you know why? People actually care about the company. They want to run it as cost effectively as they can. They want to increase sales as far as they can, as much as they can. Everything, it's their company.
It's their
It
company.
becomes their company.
They all become stakeholders.
That's right.
In the
And
growth of the
quite
company.
frankly, I attribute that more than anything else to the hyper growth that we were able to achieve and grow the value of the company from virtually nothing to 8.6 billion.
Oh, amazing. What a brilliant idea. Yeah. Execute it. Wow. Over dinner. It started from Germany.
No.
God bless.
Dr. Schmolt was a very, very smart guy. And we became friends. He was a very, very good guy. Yeah.
God bless. And then, after this, stunning and legendary performance at, Bucharest, when you came back to Carroll, that's where the story now, where you are right now. So tell us a bit, how did this homecoming happen to you?
Well, it's interesting. I think, you get to a point in life where you've accomplished a lot in business. And do you ever stop? You don't stop. You don't stop. I still haven't stopped. But you come to a point and you say, what can I do? What can I do to really give back to the next generation that's coming? Give back to the institution that gave me the ability to do what I did. And so I had some discussions with the president of the university. We were talking, and we have had a business school at Carroll since 1920.
Okay.
So a very long time.
Very long time.
And if you look at Carroll University, very prestigious, a lot of successful graduates out of the business school, but it was not performing at the level. Again, I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
I looked at it as a business.
Yeah.
And I said, I think we can do better. And she says, well, what do you have in mind? I said, we have to get the school so it's real. So it's actually giving students real life experience.
Wow.
Real life experience.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'll come back. I'll invest in the university. I'll invest in the school. And I said, but I'm not going to write you a check without being involved in it. I said, because I want to make sure that my vision of what I want to do with this business school is going to happen. I said, I will do research. I know as a CEO what I think the school should be doing, but I'm going to canvass other CEOs. And I did. So I have a business advisory council with 21 CEOs and a few other CFO type individuals. And I said, I want to put together a strategy, a plan. And I said, and I want to, make it so it's real for this time frame right now. And they all said the same thing. There's not the type of graduates that are coming out of university today that we want to employ. They said they're smart, but they're too limited. They're too limited in their abilities. So, for instance, the engineers that are coming out, they're technically strong, but they don't know anything about business. They said, we want that engineer that's designing something. We want him to also understand that we as a company need to get a return on that investment. We as a company need to know how that's going to be marketed and how it's going to be sold in the marketplace. They need more vision. They have no vision. And quite frankly, we want them to present to our board of directors what they want to design. And they said, they can't do it. They can't do it.
Music to our ears.
They can't do it. And so they said, then I started looking at the technology, and obviously AI is there and that sort of thing. So I basically took business, engineering, and technology, which quite frankly is AI, and I brought it into the same curriculum, and it's cross-pollinated. And I added then to that curriculum some humanities as well. So for instance, I want an engineer to be able to walk into a board of directors and feel comfortable to do a presentation. I want the engineer to be able to explain to his other colleagues
Absolutely.
what he's doing. And so it's working. And so the students, the curriculum is completely new. It's changed completely. We have partnerships with all of the businesses in our immediate geographic area. I also made it mandatory that you could not get your degree unless you've had at least one internship, and preferably two. I say one or two because you may pick one and you love it. That's great. But you may pick one that doesn't really make you excited. You have to be excited. When you graduate, I want you to be excited. I want you to be ready for employment. I want you to walk into the world and have a job that you're going to be happy
Wow.
about.
Wow, Tim, this is amazing. I mean, this is music to our ears at Masters Union because, as I was sharing with you, we are all about this. I mean, if you are studying business, it has to make sense, and if you are an engineer, it has to make sense. What is the you should be able to explain what is the ROI, the idea to the board on how it is going to help the company grow. I think these are all the things that we talk about here in Masters Union. I'm so happy that you did it at Carroll. And so you vested in the university and then you set up the School of Business and School of Engineering also. You vested there.
So we have mechanical, industrial, which is misnamed. It should be efficiency engineer because a third of our graduates go into healthcare systems.
Yeah.
It's efficiency engineering, quite frankly. It is for manufacturing, but it's also for other applications. And now we have drone engineering, which is the only drone engineering program in the United States. The other thing I've learned in my life, you don't want to be a me too. You have to differentiate. If you can't differentiate, what's the joy?
Yeah, no joy.
What's the excitement?
Yeah.
If you're not excited about what you've created,
Yeah.
your students aren't going to be excited.
Absolutely.
You want the students to be enthusiastic of what they want to do. Students today, they want to be entrepreneurs. I'm mentoring a few right now. They come to me, and we're going to formalize this a little bit better to try to make sure that they're set up in a system that allows them to do that. You do a wonderful job here on creating that. You really do. And I like to emulate that if we can.
Thank you so much. And we hope that we collaborate more with you also. But I just want to come back to Carroll. I think 1846 is when the university was established in Waukesha County in Wisconsin. And as I was reading about it, I mean, liberal arts college, but I mean, doing so much. I mean, if you want to talk more about the university,
The university is 180 years old. It was founded by two gentlemen from Princeton University.
okay.
And back in 1846, a long time ago, the universities in the East wanted to move west and basically plant their flag, so to speak, in the western, what they call it, the prairies. And back then, the West was Wisconsin. Then it became, further west, but at that point in time, it was Wisconsin. And they planted a flag, and we're the oldest university in the state of Wisconsin, and the oldest university in the Midwestern part of the United States. So we've been around a very, very long time.
Very long time.
It started out as strictly a liberal arts school, but it's interesting. If you go back, it had different things. So we were the first medical school in 1900 in the Midwestern United States. We were the first nursing school in 1900 in the United States, in the Midwestern United States. We were one of the first engineering schools. So we were liberal arts, but we were also, into the skills. They didn't call it business back then, but in 1920, they started commerce. They called it commerce. So we just graduated our 100th cohort of business students last year. So it's interesting as you have 180 years, things kind of ebb and flow and that sort of thing. And so when I came back, I said to the president, I said to the trustees, I said, there was a reason. There was a reason why there was a medical college. There's a reason why there were nurses. There was a reason why there was engineers at Carroll University. If you look at Carroll today, we are liberal arts, and we will never lose the liberal arts because the liberal arts are really kind of the umbrella over a lot of different things. They're the things that people sometimes don't really see the value, especially if you're in STEM or engineering. You go, why would I ever study philosophy?
Yeah.
Why would I ever study literature? Why do I ever study history? And so we bring those in because employers are looking for well-rounded individuals. They want them to be able to have a business acumen, an engineering acumen, but they also want them, to understand history. or as we always say, bad history can repeat itself if you're not careful about it. So we've had those things over our years, and I think by bringing this together as a new approach, and meeting the market where the market's demanding us to be, technology is going to be huge. We're actually we're building an absolute new building. We break ground in October of this year,
Okay.
a brand new building, and it's going to be really technology driven.
Wonderful, wonderful. More power to you. And now that, I mean, for our audience here, I mean, I was also, as I was talking to you in the room prior to this conversation, I mean, your objectives for the visit in India. I mean, as Carroll University, you're looking to do outreach to Indian students, or what is that element that you're looking at here?
Well, I'm an international person.
Yeah.
I've, you know, done my entire career internationally. If I look at the students at Carroll University, of the 3,200, we have 3,200 students, 120 are international,
Okay.
120 from 30 countries. The fact that it's diverse and a lot of countries are represented, that's one thing. 120 is not nearly enough.
Not enough.
We have to collaborate with other partners internationally. I want our students coming to India. I'd love to have Indian students coming to the United
Carroll
States.
University. Yeah.
It's, again, that's what's going to give people the perspective. People ask me all the time, why do you think you've been successful in your career? Well, it's because I've been in those many countries, seeing those many different cultures, gleaning and learning something from every single culture. You bring that together, it's incredibly powerful. So if you put someone in a box or in a very tight geographic area, they're not gonna expand their mind. They're not gonna expand their perspective.
Absolutely.
And so I really, I obviously have a very soft spot in my heart for India. Been coming here a very long time. I have a lot of friends here, and love to develop those types of collaborations going both ways. And we plan to expand that.
Wonderful. So is this the first time you're in India for Carol? I mean, for
Yes.
partnerships?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, it
wonderful,
is.
wonderful. More power to you and welcome to the country. I think Indians are definitely very interested in US and the education system there. I think, and you are absolutely correct. It just broadens your horizon when you travel and you meet different people, different cultures. And I think, as I said, I mean, I have traveled to about 40 plus countries in Africa and all over the world. And when I've been to those places, that has enriched me as a professional and as a person. And a lot of the time when people ask me, okay, what is it the most important aspect of your life that really helped you propel in your own career? I tell them it's the travel, just being out there and in those places and talking those many conversations, and that just stays with you. Okay. And it teaches you every culture, every conversation teaches you something that takes you forward. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think so. Great. I mean, I think I was also seeing one of your, I think, conversation online. You were talking strongly about, international experience for your students, and you want them to go out and experience the world and understand, the opportunities that exist for international business. And your passion was coming through that video. And I think, and now that I know your own story of travel around the world, I can get a sense of why. So India is great, and we also need to also emphasize here, very close to Chicago. I mean, for
Yes.
people who may not be aware of the geographical location of Waukesha County.
I think that's the big advantage. By again, I did all my travel in and out of Chicago. You can get anywhere in the world from Chicago, and we're an hour and a half drive from O'Hare Field or O'Hare Airport in Chicago. So, the other thing about where we're at too, and it's Wisconsin's not as well known, certainly as
Yeah.
Chicago and the Illinois area and that sort of thing. But a couple of things. We have over 6,000 manufacturers in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
10 minutes from our campus, we have a manufacturer, small manufacturer, that makes all the parts, not all the parts, but a lot of parts for SpaceX. So we have the technology in the area. Microsoft just announced they're investing $4 billion in our area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I think, Microsoft sees that, a lot of with their AI initiative, where's the biggest application? Well, certainly in Wisconsin, with that many manufacturers and that SpaceX plant, what's their biggest problem? Getting labor, getting people. We're incorporating not robots but cobots into our program. Obviously, with the AI, we're gonna focus, to serve our immediate market because they have such a high need. Even Microsoft is seeing that opportunity. So it's in a really, really strong economic region, very similar to some of the regions here in India where everything's happening there right now. It's growing rapidly. The economies are very strong there in southeastern Wisconsin. So we're in the right place. We're easily accessible to international markets. You add all these things together, they start to come together nicely to, I think, eventually be a good partner for someone.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think, you know, with you at the helm of the business school, and you mentioned, you want to bring in the element of learn by doing and making it more international. Yeah, and you're right, 120 students is a small number, diverse, but it's a small number. And I think with you there now, it is going to grow. So any special initiatives that you're taking for international students so that they feel welcome, or what are those your thoughts on international, because coming to a different country altogether is a big task for students. So
It is, and I think, we need to become a little bit more international. I think the good news is that the students that do come, we're very welcoming, and they have really good experiences at Carroll. And I think that uh, we will continue to raise our game to make sure as this, because it's going to grow.
yeah,
I am dedicated to make sure it will
yeah,
grow, and I don't like losing because I don't lose. So we will
absolutely no.
we will grow that percentage of our students, and we will do it in the right way.
God bless you. God bless you. More power to you. And I think your own career is testament to you don't like losing. I mean,
Right.
and you are still going strong. I mean, I think 5 decades of work life. I mean, you started very young at 16 and 17. You were telling me.
I think, it's they always say it's in the mind. Nah, you've got a physical core here that you got to keep going to. You stay active, you keep doing it. I think, I've got you don't stop. I've got another business in television right now with a good friend of mine from CBS Sports, Bitfire.
Bitfire.
Yeah, and Ken is actually older than myself. Ken Agar. Ken has 17 Emmys from all the technology in television sports that he incorporated. Some of it being used in cricket, ball flight. That is Ken
Okay.
Agar. He's my
Okay.
partner. Yeah,
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah. Ken had Skycam, ball flight for golf and cricket. He's the one that started to put the cameras into the
The
pylons
stumps.
for football. Now it's in the stumps.
Okay.
Yeah, he's my partner, and he's older than me, and both Ken and
So
myself.
he's older than you.
He is older than me, and we enjoy each other's company, and we've got some young men running the company, and they're doing fantastic.
Wow.
So you never stop.
Wow.
You never stop.
Well, that's what I when I was reading about you, I said I will ask him what keeps him going. I
Yeah.
mean, the world, and you're right. It's all in the mind, but you need to have a strong body too to to manage this level of engagement. And running a business is not easy. It's like a
No,
24/7
no.
job.
But I tell you, a very good friend of mine is Roger Penske, and Roger has got a very huge company, multi-billion-dollar company in the United States. I knew him when he was with Detroit Diesel. Roger will turn 90 next month, and I can tell you, he has not missed a step, and he's still running, his corporation. And you wouldn't know he wasn't 70, and that's why I think there's, Ken and myself talk about it all the time. You don't want to slow down; just keep going.
I mean, in India, I mean, we do read about Warren Buffett, and
Yeah.
he's retiring recently at
Yeah, he
93.
just retired
Yeah,
last week, I think. Yeah,
So when somebody asked, because we were discussing in friends, it's like he retired at 93. So because in India, generally the retiring age is 58. I mean, the government servants, maybe they go up to 60. That's it. And after that, I mean, for next and 20, 30 years of life, or 40 years of life till 100, you basically uh, uh, are retired. So I'm like, people don't really, now things are changing with the Indian economy also now growing, and now a lot of people are now continuing working post retirement also, and with private sector opening up. there's new impetus. I was showing you some of the things that was about Shark Tank and building businesses and how at Masters we are now having a lot of faculty members like you from the industry who come and teach. And when you were talking about your experience at Carroll, and I read your resume, I'm like, this guy actually went from building businesses to now to a business school.
Yeah.
I think and you spoke about it also. This was also about giving back to the younger generation. So how has been your experience so far in Carroll?
It's great. I think, when you get to my age, Ken's age, and, we we're not running the companies. We're there to mentor.
Yeah.
And I think that's the value that you really want to make sure that you pass on. To keep running them at our ages and that sort of thing, that's probably not the right thing to do, because you're blocking opportunities for younger people. But if you're there to mentor them, it's really what we're there for. So, the CEO of Bitfire is 34 years old, and 34.
Wow.
34, and he's great. We work with him and the young team all the time, and
And this company is headquartered out of?
Boston. Now we started out in Phoenix. That's where Ken and myself started, and now it's Boston. We're in Boston, Charlotte, North Carolina, L.A., and London.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And you were telling me a lot of interesting things you are doing with the company. My best wishes to you and more power to you as you grow. And 34-year-old CEO, and then I won't guess your age, but I'm sure there's a large difference. And you're
Begins with a 7. Let's put it that way.
But I think you are absolutely correct in having the right direction. It, uh, People like you, seniors, should mentor younger generation. I think you chose a very, very noble and nice path at Carroll on, grooming the next generation of business speakers at Carroll, and probably now you are also looking at international markets and having international students and giving them exposure. Great. Finally, we also want to talk about. You have traveled the world, and, as an American, and now we are seeing a very different America.
Yes.
And we know the geopolitical uh, winds are blowing, and there are a lot of things now being done, uh, which to us is not normal way of doing business in the world. So a lot of us in India are also taking note, and a lot of our students also are taking note. I'll be very frank about it. Having worked in the Indian higher education sector for last 2 decades, till about couple of years back, US was the default choice of going abroad. You have to go to US, and that was a big American dream that was in every bright kid that could think of pursuing higher education. But now things are changing. I won't comment on the specific issues at hand. But what is your take as an American that has traveled the world, done business with the world? What do you think about the America's relations with the world, and specifically with India? India is a very strong partner to US. What are your take on that?
Well, it's very interesting. There's good and bad in everything. I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
And I think that business principles, to a certain extent, can be used in everything. So, for instance, in my current role at Carroll University, I think that we can create more efficiency in a university by thinking more with business acumen. I think that our current president, being a businessman, he's obviously applying his business skills to politics. Well, you can do that to a certain extent, but not entirely. Not entirely. It's like academia. It's a mix.
Yeah.
Bring some of the principles because they're good principles, but not entirely. And so everything's got to be a blend. And I'm learning that, in my role in academia. I learned that when I was in government. I was in government for a year.
Yeah, I read that
Yeah.
also.
And it was same type of thing. There's certain things that can be applied. There's certain things that can't be applied, and it's really hard to blend those things. But that's what we're talking about doing, certainly at the university. How do we teach students to blend and not just be a businessman, just be an engineer, if you're in politics and you're a businessman, you've got to blend the public policy with
Exactly.
the
That's what you were
business
talking
acumen.
about.
And if you try to apply too much of one or the other, you don't have what you need. And I think, like everything, there's good that comes out of it, and there's some bad that comes out of it. If someone could ever figure out how to blend it properly, so it's all good, all good, that would be the absolute epitome, wouldn't it? It'd be the ultimate success of the world in many respects.
Well, Tim, it was an honor having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us at Masters Union. I think we are here, you are here for the first time, but I'm sure that we will be back again and we will collaborate with you at Carroll and see pathways for our students and your students and more institutional partnerships between the two of us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I give you tremendous. I wish you tremendous success. I think we think a lot alike,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
we're both going to be very successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have a safe trip.
Thank you.